Chapter 1. Walter Connell had bad dreams. Every night for the past 4 years, he awoke sweating and screaming. Tonight was no different. The satin sheets, picked out years earlier by his ex-wife, were wet and sticky. The more he tossed and turned, the more they would wrap themselves around him. When his nightmares became too much, he would awaken and find himself cocooned in fine satin. Sometimes freeing himself from those sheets was harder than trying to wake up. After screaming, he turned to apologize to Amelia, before remembering that she didn't sleep there anymore. It depressed him for a moment, but it was better with her gone. She probably slept through the night now, which was more than Walter could say. He sat up in his bed, gasping for air. His breath returned as his tongue scraped against the inside of his parched mouth. Maybe a nice glass of milk would help settle him down. It never did, but why not try again? Walter got up from his bed and shuffled his way toward the door. Every night was the same. In the morning, he'd call his psychiatrist and talk about the nightmares. Memories of being attacked, stabbed and hung upside down facing the strange symbols drawn on his basement floor still haunted him. The doorbell rang on an autumn night, a little warmer than this one. He should have ignored the doorbell, but the sound of his mother's voice chastising him for being rude echoed in his head. He shouldn't have listened to her. Things would be so much easier today if he were a little ruder. Instead, he was fortunate enough to be the sole survivor of a prolific serial killer. Lucky him. Walter drug his feet through the dark and empty hallways of the house. It didn't look too different from when he would stay up late watching television and would shuffle his way to bed to find Amelia already asleep. Those were different days. She was gone now, and he was alone. But moving through that spacious Kenwood bungalow, he never felt alone. He was always there, the man who walked through his front door and used a rusty scalpel to doodle an unreadable collection of symbols on his chest never really left. Even though Walter watched him die in the basement, he'd probably never leave. Most nights, Walter wished that Marvin Alexakis had killed him. But tonight, he just wanted something to drink. Walter looked over to the couch where he planned to spend most of the next day. He scanned the room to make sure that it was as vacant as it seemed. He did that in every room of his house, never sure if he could trust his eyes or ears since they always lied to him. Empty. Just him in the evening, like every night, despite what the voice in his head told him. Finding his way into the dimly lit, yet tastefully decorated kitchen, Walter crossed the barrier from cold wood to the sharp cobblestone tile pattern that led to the refrigerator. Opening the stainless steel door, he pulled out a carton of milk and cracked open the paper top. Taking a long, slow drink from the container, he let a small trail of liquid gently dance down his cheek. Walter could hear Amelia chastising him for drinking out of the carton. Not that it mattered any more, he thought, whipping away the excess milk. Walter turned away toward the back window. In the winter, the view would usually open up to a breathtaking view of Hyde Park in the bright, white snow. But this had been an unseasonably warm winter so far, and the view an ugly brown and gray, nothing but mud and long dead leaves. Click. A tap at the window drew him in closer. It might have been a single raindrop or a rock thrown against the pane. The light from the open refrigerator door lit the room enough that he had trouble seeing beyond his dim reflection. The sight of this old, broken version of himself was startling enough. But there wasn't anything else behind the glass. Walter took another pull from the carton and heard a second click against the glass. Again, he peered toward the window, hoping that he was alone. Something was moving in his backyard. Some kind of animal was nosing through a yard that should have been landscaped months ago, but that was another thing the new Walter didn't care about. Its back, bulky and brown. Is that an actual Chicago bear? As its head turned back to Walter, he was stopped by a pair of glowing, yellow eyes. The window shattered. A shadowed, hulking force blasted through, tackling him to the floor. Its claws slashed down on Walter's face. He tried to push the thing off, but couldn't see where his hands reached. The creature sunk its teeth deep into his neck. Blind and screaming, Walter reached up, trying to grab hold of something, but he couldn't push through the thick, dense fur. Cold air blew into his freshly opened wounds, a familiar sensation, one he remembered every night when he pretended to fall asleep. Blood flowed out on the cobblestone tiles and mixed with the milk still clutched in Walter's hand. He tried to cry out again, but the creature pulled back and ripped the throat from his neck. That was the last bit of pain Walter Connell ever felt. He was free. The bad dreams were over.